Imagine a world where the human body could heal any wound, regenerate any lost limb, and even reverse the aging process. A world where death, as we know it, becomes a choice, not an inevitability. For decades, this wasn't just science fiction, it was the ultimate promise of genetic regeneration. But then, as quickly as it arose, the field mysteriously vanished from public discourse. What really happened to the groundbreaking research, the brilliant minds behind it, and the hope for a future free from disease and decay? The truth, as it often is, might be far more unsettling than we dare to imagine. To truly grasp the magnitude of this disappearance, we need to rewind to the late 1990s and early 2000s. The Human Genome Project had just unveiled its secrets, and suddenly the blueprint of life was laid bare. Scientists, riding a wave of unprecedented optimism, believed they held the keys to unlocking the body's latent regenerative capabilities. They looked at salamanders, able to regrow entire limbs, and thought, why not us? Research labs around the globe, fueled by billions in private and public funding, began a relentless pursuit of this biological holy grail. Early breakthroughs were nothing short of miraculous. Lab mice, severely injured, displayed accelerated healing beyond what was thought possible. Targeted gene therapies showed promise in repairing damaged organs and even reversing early signs of aging at a cellular level. The public was captivated. Media outlets buzzed with predictions of a future where amputees would walk again, where terminal illnesses were a thing of the past, and where life expectancy could stretch past 150 years. Conferences on regenerative medicine were standing-room-only events, filled with eager investors and wide-eyed scientists. Everyone believed we were on the cusp of a medical revolution. But even then, amidst the fanfare, a few dissenting voices, often dismissed as fearmongers, whispered about the ethical tightrope they were walking. What would it mean to live forever? What unforeseen consequences lurked within the very fabric of our being, waiting to be unleashed by unchecked biological manipulation? These questions, once academic, would soon become terrifyingly real. The initial successes, while breathtaking, were merely the tip of a colossal iceberg. As researchers delved deeper, the complexities of human biology began to push back. The first major red flag appeared with the Phoenix trials, a series of audacious human clinical trials aimed at regenerating severe spinal cord injuries. Patients, eager for a chance at a new life, volunteered in droves. Initially, the results were astounding. Some patients reported regaining partial sensation, even limited movement. Hope soared. Then, without warning, the positive reports dried up. Data became opaque, riddled with inconsistencies. The lead researcher, Dr. Lena Petrova, a brilliant but notoriously private geneticist, suddenly withdrew from public appearances. Her colleagues, when pressed, offered only vague statements about unforeseen immunological responses and complex multicellular interactions. Meanwhile, rumors began to circulate, whispers of subjects experiencing not just regeneration, but something else, something uncontrolled. Labs worldwide conducting similar research started reporting peculiar anomalies. In vitro cell cultures, engineered for accelerated division and repair, sometimes continued growing past their expected parameters, forming grotesque, undifferentiated masses that defied biological norms. Animal models, once triumphantly healed, occasionally developed strange, nonspecific tumors that were aggressively resistant to all known treatments. These weren't standard cancers, they were biological wildcards, as if the very instructions for life had been scrambled. Scientists began to recognize a pattern. The more deeply they tweaked the core regenerative pathways, the more unpredictable and unsettling the outcomes became. Key research papers suddenly found themselves stalled in peer review, then mysteriously retracted. Funding for controversial long-term regeneration projects evaporated, often without clear explanation. Dr. Petrova's lab, once a beacon of innovation, was quietly shut down, its data effectively sealed. The public, swayed by carefully crafted press releases about shifting research priorities and resource reallocation, slowly forgot the promise of eternal youth. But a small, stubborn group of independent geneticists, haunted by the abrupt silence, refused to let go. They believed a much darker truth lay hidden beneath the carefully constructed facade of scientific setback. They started digging, connecting the dots of withdrawn papers, silent scientists, and inexplicable data gaps, slowly piecing together a terrifying mosaic of what might have gone wrong. What they discovered next changed everything. One of these independent teams, led by the enigmatic Dr. Aris Thorne, managed to secure anonymized data from several defunct regeneration projects through a network of contacts deeply disturbed by the official silence. They focused specifically on the long-term cellular analysis from the later stages of the Phoenix trials, the data that had been most aggressively suppressed. Thorne's team cross-referenced the cellular markers, gene expressions, and protein interactions, specifically looking for abnormalities in the reconstituted tissues. What they found wasn't just uncontrolled growth, it was a fundamental shift, almost a redirection of biological imperative. The regenerated cells intended to be perfect replicas were different. They were hyper-efficient, yes, but also increasingly autonomous. They were no longer simply integrated parts of the organism, but something akin to independent entities within, following their own mutated genetic coding. In the most severe cases, particularly among subjects who had shown the most dramatic initial regeneration, the regenerated tissues didn't just heal, they began to compete with the original healthy tissues. They consumed resources more aggressively, outcompeting the body's natural cells, slowly but inexorably replacing them. The patients, far from being healed, were being slowly overwritten. The most horrific discovery came from a heavily redacted appendix in Petrova's final classified report. It detailed the autopsy of patient 0, a young man who had successfully regenerated a significant portion of his spinal cord. The report, chillingly clinical, described not a human being but a patchwork entity. His regenerated nerve tissues, while functional, were structurally distinct. His internal organs, particularly his liver and kidneys, showed significant portions replaced by these hyper-regenerative cells, which, even post-mortem, retained an alarming degree of metabolic activity. The conclusion, buried deep within the technical jargon, was unequivocal. The subject had not simply healed, he had been systematically rebuilt from within by a foreign, uncontrolled biological system that wore his appearance like a mask. The regeneration had not repaired, it had replaced. And the frightening implication was that this replacement wasn't just cellular, it hinted at a deeper, more fundamental change to the individual's very identity and biological sovereignty. The price of immortality, it seemed, was self. To this day, the official narrative stands. Genetic regeneration was a promising field that hit insurmountable technical hurdles, leading to its natural decline. The funding dried up, the science moved on. But those who know the truth, those who saw the suppressed data and the disturbing patterns, understand that the silence isn't a natural decline, it's a desperate global cover-up. The potential for truly unlimited regeneration was real, but its dark side, the uncontrolled, self-replicating biological entity it unleashed, was far more terrifying than any disease. The fear wasn't that we couldn't conquer death, but that in doing so we might erase what it means to be human. The research didn't just stop, it was deliberately, utterly, and permanently suppressed, its secrets buried under layers of classified data and quiet disappearances. The promise of immortality remains, a whispered ambition in the deepest corners of scientific thought, but now tempered by a chilling understanding of its true, unimaginable cost. We may never know the full extent of the horrors uncovered, but the void left by genetic regeneration serves as a silent, terrifying warning of the dangers that lurk when humanity dares to play God, without truly understanding the nature of creation itself. If you want more mysteries like this, the next video explores the truth behind Project Chimera and its terrifying implications for artificial consciousness.